Square roots. Well, what is a square root? The square root of a number is a number when multiplied by itself gives you the original number. And the symbol right here is the radical sign. So if you were asked for the square root of 64, what number times itself would give you 64? 8 times itself would give you 64. Square root of 81. What number times itself would give you 81? 9 times 9 would give you 81. The square root of 121. What number times itself would give you 121? 11 times 11 is 121. The square root of 1. What number times itself would give you 1? Well, that's 1. Square root of 4,900. What number times itself would give you 4,900? Well, that would be 70. 70 times 70 would give you 4,900. The square root of 6,400. What number times itself would give you that? Well, 80 times 80 is 6,400, so the square root of 6,400 would be 80. Now, in the tree here, we have some perfect squares, and I'm going to drag these over here. And remember, perfect squares, where these came from, 12 times 12 to the second power, 12 squared is 144. That's a perfect square. Well, actually, where do these perfect squares come from? What are their roots? Well, they're right down here. So essentially, the square root of 144, where does 144 come from? It comes from 12 squared. Square root of 100, where does that come from? Well, it comes from 10 squared. That's its root. The square root of 36, where does that come from? Well, its root is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Square root of 4, where does that come from? 2. Its root is 2. Square root of 25, its root is 5. And square root of 49, 7 times 7 would give you 49. Now, here we have two separate square roots. This is asking you to do the square root of 144 minus the square root of 100. They're two separate things. So the square root of 144 would be 12 minus the square root of 100 would be 10. So 12 minus 10 is 2. In the next example, the square root, these are two separate things right here. The square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 1 is 1, so the answer to this would be 8. Now this is a little bit different. We've got to do, there's a lot of stuff here under the radical sign. We have to do everything under the radical sign first. So 64 plus 36 would be 100. Then we're going to take the square root of it. And the square root of 100 is 10. Same thing here. You'll notice, see, these were two separate square roots. We've got to do everything underneath this radical sign here. So 42 minus 6 is 36. And the square root of 36 is 6. Let's do a few more examples. Well, these are easy. Square root of 25. What times itself will give you 25? That would be 5. What times itself will give you 49? 7. What times itself will give you 81? That would be 9. The square root of 4. What number times itself will give you 4? That would be 2. Square root of 36. What number times itself will give you 36? That would be 6. And what number times itself will give you 144? That would be 12. Now let's do a few more here. So the square root of 4,900. What number times itself will give you 4,900? 70. Square root of 640,000. What number times itself will give you 640,000? That would be 800. Now let's just double check that. So 800 times 800. Let's see, if I drop the eggs and I do 8 times 8, which is 64, and I put those 4 eggs back on, yeah, it checks. So 800 would be your square root of 640,000. So let me get that there. Okay, let's do another one. Square root of 121, that's easy. What number times itself is 121? That would be 11. Square root, oh, now this one's a little bit different. We've got some information here that we need to do first under the radical symbol. So 40 minus 4 is 36, and the square root of 36 would be 6. Square root is 2,500. What number times itself will give you 2,500? Well, that would be 50. 50 times 50 would be 2,500. Let's just double check. Drop the eggs. 5 times 5 is 25. Put the eggs back on. Yeah, it checks. So it's 50. And the last example here. Again, we need to do everything underneath the radical sign here. 14 plus 11 would be 25. So the square root of 25 would be 5. Okay, I want to do one more example. I want to do the square root of 100 minus 36, and then I want to do the square root of 100 minus the square root of 36. These are two different things. So in this example, we need to do everything that is underneath the radical sign. So we're going to do 100 minus 36. That would be the square root of 64, and the square root of 64 would be 8. Now over here, this is different. This is two separate square roots. So we're going to do the square root of 100, which is 10. Then we're going to do the square root of 36, which is 6. And our final answer over here would be 4. So that's how you do square roots.